Today we're going to talk a little bit about sprint drills, just generally speaking, some concepts around how you can use them, why you might use them, and then what they do or don't do. So one thing to consider with sprint drills is that they're not going to inherently make you faster, but what they can do is teach you how to manage your posture, how to contact the ground properly. They can help prepare your body for the demands of sprinting, plyometrics, or other more intense activities. They can work on mobility. So for example, here we're doing hurdle mobility. Is this going to make us faster? Probably not. But what is it going to do? Well, it's going to help condition our hip flexors. It's going to help teach us how to move our hip through the proper range of motion while maintaining good posture. As you're doing exercises like this, you don't want to compensate by moving your body away from the hurdle. You want to work on using the muscles around the hip to lift the leg up and have the leg go over the hurdle. So when people first do this, they'll often just contort their body to get over it, whereas over time, as they get better, they'll learn to move their leg through the right range of motion, and then their mobility will be improved, and hopefully that helps their sprinting. Now with normal sprint drills, like here we have the A skip, you want to focus on going straight up and down with the leg action, striking down aggressively so you get a little bounce off the ground, which tells you you're applying force properly. Working these little movements are going to help you learn what it's like to apply force when sprinting, but they're not going to directly transfer. You still have to go out and do the sprint training, do the jump training, or whatever your specific event is, and then you might start to see some transfer from what you did in the drills to the sprinting. But if you don't sprint and all you do are drills, you're going to get great at drills and you're not going to get that good at sprinting. So here's another variation of a drill. This is a dribble. You want to work on cycling over the opposite ankle. This is good as a more cyclical activity, so people who struggle with cycling the legs, this can be good for them. It also offers you an opportunity to work on higher frequency movements when you're less warmed up or maybe when you have an injury. So that's another thing. Sprint drills are great for coming back from an injury. You probably aren't able to sprint if you've been injured, but you can probably do walking pace drills. Then over time you can progress to drills that are done at a jogging pace, then at a running pace. And then as that injury that you have heals, you can increase the range of motion and the velocity of the drills up until the point where you're able to do every drill in the book with no pain. Then you're probably able to go out and start sprinting. Obviously, you'd want to be doing some running in the meantime, but that's another way you can use drills. Now, this isn't necessarily a drill. This is like a low amplitude plyometric, these line hops, but these are really good for building up elasticity. You can get a high volume of contacts in. You still have to work on managing your posture, timing your arm swing, all of that while bouncing off the ground with good stiffness. Same thing here on these low hurdle hops. So while these aren't drills, what can they do that's similar to drills? They can help prepare the body, prepare the tissues for the intensities of sprinting and jumping that we would, get into as the season progresses. So with these, you want to make sure that you're managing your posture, bouncing off the ground quickly, not yielding too much or sinking down when you do them. Now, whether you're doing drills, plyometrics, or anything, you can progress from more basic and lower intensity variations to more complex or higher intensity variations. So here we had the line hops, which are very low intensity. Then we went to the low hurdle hops, which are slightly more intense. Now we have single leg hops, so now we're adding a little bit of complexity because you have to balance on that one leg. You have to cycle the leg through properly. When you do these, you probably want to land mid-foot or use the whole foot depending on how intense the exercise is. So that way you can keep your legs healthy, have a good, surface area to push off of, and be able to do a higher volume of these without getting hurt. One progression you can have is to make them faster, so you can bring in some speed to them, and that will make them more complex, more intense. The landing forces will be greater. So you want to progress these qualities over time, whether you're doing plyometrics, drills, sprinting. You want to progress from lower complexity to higher complexity, from lower velocity to higher velocity, lower intensity to higher intensity, all of that. And all of those progressions sort of apply to every aspect of training. Now you can also use drills as a way to get across a certain concept. So for example, say you have an athlete who they don't understand what it feels like to strike the ground and push their hips forward, then maybe you do a variation of the wall drill like what we have here on the screen, where you strike under the hips and then that leads to the hips moving forward off of that ground contact. You can then take them from this and then have them go try a sprint and see if it gets any better. If it does, great. If not, you can try something else. But that's kind of where I see drills coming in, is either as a warm-up, as a way to train early in the year when you don't have much sprinting under your belt, or as a way to get across a certain concept. So say someone struggles with acceleration, well, you could do that wall drill. Then you could throw them on a heavy resisted pull with the Exergenie, and then you could have them go do a block start. or go do a sprint, from a standing start or something like that. And the more that you can use drills to target the needs of the athlete, the better transfer you're going to see from those drills. Whereas if you just throw a bunch of drills at the athlete, you never work on technique, you never try to apply drills that target a certain aspect of their sprinting or their jumping that they need to develop, you're just throwing everything at them and seeing what sticks, that's not going to work so well. But if you can apply drills to the athlete that are relevant for their needs, that are relevant for their developmental level, and you can get that fit to be right, that's where drills are going to help you, and that's where ultimately you're going to get the most out of your training if you take that approach, regardless of what you're doing. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. This is Cody Bidlow with SprintingWorkouts.com and ATHLETE.X, signing off.